Hello, everybody, and welcome to another post-match reaction here on the Italian Football Podcast. My name is Nima Tavallaey, and I will be reacting to the 7-goal thriller, the Derby d'Italia 7-goal thriller, which saw Juventus win 4-3 against an Inter side. We just like last year when we were treated to 8 goals at the San Siro in the first Derby d'Italia of the season. Well, this time we were only treated to 7, but what goals they were. Ended the winner coming from Vasilije Adzic, 19-year-old Montenegrin, youngster who was joined Juventus 2 years ago, one year ago in July 2024, went from Budućnost. I have to pronounce if that was mispronounced. The club from Podgorica in Montenegro, and it was a truly crazy result, and 7 goals again, like I said, just like the first Derby d'Italia last season. So we're going to try to break it down a little bit into the first and second half. It was a game that started with Inter trying to pressure and impose themselves on Juve, looking a little bit frantic and naive in the opening 10 minutes, with a Juve that was so controlled and so mature and just absorbing the pressure. Inter looked a little bit naive, and Juve looked a little bit more mature and in control, just basically allowing Inter to press up, because Inter weren't really creating anything either, except for a long-distance shot or a somewhat semi-long distance shot from Nicolo Barella, which seems to be the theme of the night, which we will talk about as well. Juventus and Igor Tudor had done their homework. They had noticed that Inter were hollow centrally, that Christian Chivu is yet to find the balance between how high he presses up and not exposing himself too much defensively in the middle of the pitch, which is how Juventus scored most of their goals tonight. Central shots, Yildiz, Adzic, although those weren't per se. They were central shots, but it wasn't. They were fantastic shots, and we'll get to that, because I think Jan Sommer is definitely there's something to talk about there. But it was, again, they found that space between the midfield and the defense in front of Inter's defense, and which gave them time to score those 2 goals, especially. And Inter were, again, Calhanoglu looked in no man's land defensively, but you can say many things about Calhanoglu, but the performance he gave tonight shows that this is more a tactical issue than a technical issue, at least if we look at tonight's performance, because the 2 goals he scores are individually brilliant goals. The second one in particular, absolutely stunning, the volley. But let's get back to the first half. The first goal was illogical for me that Juve scored that. It was a little bit of a pinball situation, but that ball being played in the far corner behind Akanji, which Bremer wins and hits a one-time volley into the center, with Kelly moving in centrally. Inter's defense all over the place. The central defenders were zonal, were outmarking their players. The players in the middle, Inter's players and the attacking players were in the middle, supposed to screen that move. That's Tudor. That's definitely something they've worked on the training ground, and it was a lovely team move, that particular detail, and a brilliant, again, individual by Bremer to play that volley down the middle, and great finish by Lloyd Kelly as well. Who, I mean, there's no goalkeeper in the world that saves that. Really wonderfully well placed as well. But Inter's defense were shocking. Inter didn't really create anything in that first half, and Calhanoglu's first goal was a good placed shot, which Di Gregorio didn't really have much to do, and it felt like after Inter scored that goal, they were excited, they wanted to push forward, but Juve, again, control, cool, level heads, wanting to absorb Inter, giving Inter the ball. How you have the possession, we'll exploit your mistakes, which we know you'll make. And that kind of happened a couple of times. One of those, of course, being from Kenan Yildiz goal, which came in the first half as well, 2-1, where he exploited that space in the middle of the pitch, and Inter just can't seem to fill that. And we saw that again. The reason why I keep bringing this up on the pod in various episodes and tonight is because we saw that in moments as well against Torino. Inter have a problem centrally from a tactical point of view. Chivu has not been able to find that just yet. Find a response or a reply to that tactically just yet. Kenan Yildiz is a magical player. He's a wonderful player, but I have to blame Jan Sommer there. I think he's a little bit too late. He's a little bit too reactive. He's got fingers on it. Yes, he's short. That's not his fault, but that's a mistake for me. He really fumbled that. We move on to the second half, and I feel that Juventus are again in control in the sense that they are just allowing Inter possession. But then, something happens, and I think that those three changes that Chivu makes breathes air into Inter in terms of energy, because let's be honest, Barella and Lautaro did not have a good game at all. The equalizer, of course, coming just seconds after those three changes made, and Calhanoglu, with a wonderful piece of individual technical skill, scores 3-3. Scores the equalizer for 2-2, and just immediately there, it felt like the game was hanging in the balance, in the sense that Inter were pushing forward, Juve were just basically absorbing Inter's pressure, and it felt like that there was more goals in this game as well, and definitely so. Inter do score from a set piece and a corner. Di Marco, great cross. Marcus Thuram, who I thought was Inter's best player overall in terms of open play, in terms of performance. Calhanoglu will obviously, those two goals are just brilliant individual pieces of skill, but I think as an overall performance, I think Marcus Thuram was Inter's best player, and he heads home and gives Inter that lead. And you're looking, and you're looking, well, can Inter pull this off? Can they actually go on and win this? But immediately after that goal, it felt like, no. I had this lump in my stomach watching it, and I was talking to one of our patrons, Gianmarco, who's an Inter fan as well, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying, look, he felt that lump in his stomach too, and it wasn't just nervousness. It felt like Inter ran out of steam a little bit, or ran out of enthusiasm, rather, not energy, but ran out of enthusiasm and that fire they had after those three changes and Calhanoglu's equalizer, which is natural. But it felt like Juventus were kind of waiting for that to happen, and then to hit Inter, because there was quite. I mean, Thuram scored his goal, gave Inter the lead 3-2 in the 76th minute, and then of course Bastoni gives away a stupid free kick. Kenan Yildiz with a wonderful free kick hits it and Khephren Thuram with a header, which equalizes again. I don't want to blame Sommer for that. I think this was a little bit more on Manuel Akanji, who I think missed Thuram, but we have to praise Kenan Yildiz for that wonderful delivery. And Khephren, little brother Khephren, wants to show that anything big brother Marcus to do, I can do just as good in the Derby di Thuram. And then the momentum completely changed. It just felt like Juventus were going to be on the front foot and go for the winner. And if there was to be a winner, it would be Juventus. And of course, Vasilije Adzic with a wonderful shot. It was a game of long shots, scoring the winner, which Sommer should have done better on. And I don't want to take anything away from Adzic. There was an instance there that was a little bit weird for me, because the referee cam showed that Khephren Thuram does clip Bonnie's in the heel before that goal. He sees that, and yet he doesn't. He looked like he was going to give the free kick. He decided not to. And so, from my understanding of the VAR protocol, if the referee has seen it, has judged it, the VAR can't really intervene, because the referee has seen the situation. He's allowed play to continue. That means he's made the call that he doesn't feel he's happy. He doesn't feel that warrants a foul. That's fine. That's on Colombo. I feel the referee was really good in this game. I think Colombo overall had a consistent level throughout the game. you can make an argument maybe that he should have blown his whistle. But for me, if he doesn't blow the whistle and give a foul on Khephren, Thuram, and Boni, I don't think VAR should intervene in that position, because it wasn't a clear and obvious error, at least from my understanding of the VAR protocol and the way that it has been applied. And Adzic scores that wonderful goal, and Jan Sommer, that's a mistake that's on him, and it's a huge mistake on him. He should have done better there. He really should have done better there, and he should have done better on other goals. And Akanji did not have perhaps the best start to his Inter career either, even though he's a Premier League proven defender. His mistakes were costly in this game from an Inter perspective. Moving on now, if we look further to how this impacts both of these teams' seasons, Juventus throw their hat in the ring for I predicted them as a dark horse to win the Serie A. Patrick Kendrick said he thinks they will win the Serie A. They're throwing their hat in the ring to at least be in the title race. 3 wins, a win over the Derby d'Italia against rivals Inter. In a game that was a 7-goal thriller, it's back and forth, and this breeds confidence. This brings belief. There are problems at Juventus that Tudor has to deal with. For example, Juventus don't really create that many chances. Neither do Inter, at least not in this game. I feel that Juventus are more a team that it relies on the mistakes of individuals and individual brilliance. And Inter, to a certain extent, also do that. Although Inter can, as we saw against Torino, create on their own as well. But Juventus more so rely a little bit, in my opinion, on the mistakes of others to be able to score. But having said that, 3 from 3, Derby d'Italia win. They open up a 6-point lead on Inter, and they're gonna push Napoli and Antonio Conte, who now the ball passes over to them. As for Inter, Christian Chivu did what he could do tonight. Yes, there are tactical problems there, as I mentioned, the hole in the middle. But above all, if you look at, he made 3 changes. The changes gave effect. Marcus, he decided to keep Thuram on. He scored. He decided to keep Calhanoglu on. He equalized. So, and Zielinski was decent. There were some Boni was decent. Di Marco was noted for an assist. So, he did everything he could. But it wasn't good enough, and Juventus win another Derby d'Italia. And from now on, the knives are going to be sharpened for him. Ajax away, going to be difficult. And if the Inter don't get a result there, the earth will start to shake under his feet, as they say in Italy, when they talk about a manager who enters a period of uncertainty with regards to his job. We'll see. We're not quite there yet in terms of Crisi Inter, because this was an Inter that did react, did show grit, did show hunger, did show fight. Went a goal down, equalized, went another goal down, equalized, took the lead. That means that this is the kind of thing that in the Italian media and amongst Italian fans, Inter fans, they will see that there's something there. But of course, losing to Juve like this is always bitter from an Inter perspective. I think, as I've said all along, I don't expect Inter to be in a title race. I said it before the season. I said also on the day before Christian Chivu was appointed that I think he's going to be sacked by December. I stand by both of those predictions. I think that is inevitable. And I also stand by the fact that I don't blame Christian Chivu. He should never have been appointed. I blame the people who appointed him. Now Inter have a 6-point gap up to Juventus, which is difficult. Christian Chivu said before the game that, something along the lines of, that, it doesn't matter if you lose games early on. What matters is how many games you lose at the end of the season. That's true. But when you're under pressure, after having lost 2 of your opening 3 games in the Serie A, that means there's no wiggle room. There's no room for any more mistakes if you're going to be in a title race. And given the last few years where as our good friend Patrick Kendrick alluded to in his video earlier today on YouTube and Twitter, that there's not that much wiggle room. You can't lose more than 2-3 games a season if you're going to win the title. Going through the last few years winners all the way back from Conte, from Sarri to last season. It's Conte at Napoli. So I think Inter are effectively out of the title race. I personally never thought they were going to be in the title race. And now we enter into a point where there's going to be a bit of soul searching and reflection at Inter. And it's going to be interesting to see how Inter react against Ajax midweek, how Lautaro reacts and Barella react after another poor performance for Inter, another anonymous performance, especially for Barella, who is being rightly so criticized. It's going to be interesting to see how Inter pull through. Difficult game against Ajax, then a few maybe simpler games on paper at least in the Serie A. Juve flying. Now they are buzzing with confidence. Igor Tudor has had the perfect start. Can they go all the way? It's the Serie A. It's Juventus. Juventus can always win the Serie A. Are they favorites to do so? No. In my opinion, they're still the dark horse to do so. That's all we had time for this episode. We'll be back on Monday for a full review of all the weekend's action. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao, ciao.